All right. So just to give you a little bit of an introduction for myself, my name is Alexander. I am a native bilingual English-Italian actor. But because I wasn't born in the UK, I was born in Italy, and I look more Italian potentially than English, and definitely I speak, native Italian better than I speak English, I guess. So people tend to typecast me for those things, especially for voiceover. And that's just how it's going to be. So it's very important to know quite a few things about it. So I've been working in voiceover for over 6 years. So as soon as I came to London full time, basically, which was about 7 years ago, something like that. Yeah, that's what happened. As soon as I started, made my voice real, I prepared myself the best to do it, because you want to be, very good in that, because that's going to be your business card, the way you are. If you can hear a noise, let me know, and I'll shut the window. Apparently, there are works going on outside right now. So just let me know if that's the case and you can't hear me. Yeah, so I've been working in voiceover for about 6 years. And pretty much Italian work, it goes to Italy, or it could be in English, but with an Italian accent usually. It could be like a bit of a natural accent, whatever it is that I have, but maybe you can hear a twang or something like that. And I have a home studio that it's been really helpful during this lockdown as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well, if you guys want. So do ask questions if you guys need anything about, how to get into voiceover. But this session is really going to be about a number of things. There's so much to say, especially for people who were not born in the UK, which is something that is not really addressed very often. And actually, it's a massive thing. There are so many things to discuss about that. So that's why I need you basically to let me know what you guys want to discuss, because otherwise we don't have enough time to obviously address everything. What am I going to do? It's discuss, first of all, one thing that is two things that are potentially the most important things that we could talk about today. Because it's about rates, and it's about how to deal with clients and agents. And while that's particularly complicated in the UK for everyone, and especially for voiceover, it's especially complicated for people who were not born in the UK, non-UK born artists. And I'm going to explain why in a moment. But yeah, it's complicated. First of all, the reason why it's quite complicated is because rate cards in the UK are illegal. Since Margaret Thatcher's times, there's an anti-competition law that doesn't allow trade unions to set rate cards. And that makes it particularly complicated for the UK. It's the same for everything, but for other things, such as other areas such as acting, it's there can be arrangement between Equity, which is the trade union for artists in the UK, and other official bodies. So they can have an agreement with BBC, or they can have an agreement with the IPA, which is the commercial body, advertising body. There could be an agreement between Equity and radio, Netflix, etc. Right? So you can do that, and you have that, and that sets some sort of industry rate. Okay, you can do that. With voiceover, is even more complicated than that, though, because there is just more work. Sometimes voiceover is just a little line. So anyone could come at you. So there could be any sort of. We're going to talk about the different clients, the different agencies that there are out there as well. So what types of agencies, what types of clients, what types of work you do nowadays with voiceover. So because it's so vast and sparse, and also because of this anti-competition law in the UK, especially rates becomes complicated. And the problem is, especially for non-UK born people, it's even more complicated to talk to agents about it, because they think they know what they're doing, but very often they don't. That is the problem. when it comes to overseas usage. Okay, so the first thing you need to know is that as a voiceover artist, you're a freelance. As a freelance, as a self-employed person, you have the power to decide your own terms and conditions. This is very important, and that's something that people tend to forget. Because we're told, flexibility is important, and we need to show that we are available and we can be there, etc., etc. Now, that is true. Flexibility is very important in this sector, but at the same time, flexibility doesn't mean being messed around. If this is to become your job, either your full-time job or a part-time job, or even just something you do professionally to give you some sort of income, it still should be treated seriously by both you and your client or agent. So there are limits. Okay, there are things you set. So you decide your and this is by the law. This is how it is, because if you are self-employed, if you're a freelance, you employ yourself, and then you have clients. So you're the boss of yourself. This is very important. Your clients are not your boss. Your agents are very much not your boss. Okay, you decide your opening times, when you work, your working hours. You decide how you work, what clients you want to work for, what kinds of work you want to do. If there is betting, you might say, I'm against that, so I don't want to do any work for that. Gambling, that's drinking alcohol. That's completely up to you. Okay. Now, this actually means that one way to go around certain problematics of the industry is actually having your own terms and conditions, your own contract with every client. So for every job you do, you should have a contract. You should have your terms and conditions that you give them, and they should agree to them. And that way you're safe. So in case anything happens, any problematic, any issue down the line, you have the terms and conditions. And this is probably the best advice you will ever receive about voiceover, which nobody gives for, I don't know why. And it's just very, very important. If you have that, you're covered. Now, the terms and conditions, the thing is, because people tend not to use them, people tend not to know about them. People think, okay, well, I don't need that. I've got an agent, I can find work on a P2P website. I don't need that. But when things happen, you will see, in time that you will need that, because you will have a client that doesn't pay you, that you haven't agreed the paying the paying terms. So how long does it take you for you to get paid? A number of things you haven't agreed on. And the client will say, oh, actually, this is, I'm going to pay you in 3 months, or maybe they will say that they will pay you in 30 days, which is what it should be by law, really. But they don't, and especially if you found them online on a peer-to-peer website. Who are they? So at least finding out who they are and having a terms and conditions with them at least protects you in that sort of way. And this goes for agents as well, although that's slightly more complicated. So the thing about terms and conditions, how do you go about drafting your own terms and conditions? So one good news is that Equity is currently working on a contract template that all voiceover artists can use. So this is really great news. They actually just got the other day a confirmation that a lawyer's body, I don't know, I can't remember their name. I think I do know the name, but anyway, they will actually draft that for Equity. So we'll have a proper official contract template in the next coming months that people can use as a contract template. I've been liaising with the Equity Audio Committee in the past months for a number of issues that some of them we're going to talk about them today. One of them was the actual terms and conditions. How do we do that? How do we make sure that people use them? Because obviously the more people use them, the more everyone is going to be aware of them, and then it becomes a standard thing, you know. So basically, I drafted my own with their help, with their insight, and because there are other voiceover artists, especially full-time professional voiceover artists, that obviously do use terms and conditions because they know they are very important. And I drafted my own. So this is what I use now. I've got my own terms and conditions, or contract, if you like. It's the same thing, because it's my own terms and conditions. And the moment that I enter in an agreement with you, in an engagement with a client, they are agreeing to my terms and conditions. So it becomes basically a binding contract. Now, the good news is that you can use it if you like. So I've got it on my website, which is available. It's specifically on an available link, so you can access it and you can even download it if you like. And I encourage you to do so, because the more people use it in the industry, the more it becomes a standard thing, and it's very helpful. Okay, right. So I'm going to write the link later. Can I write the link? Maybe I can't. No, I can't. I can't write a link right now because I'm not logged in, I think. But I can tell you where it is. It's quite easy to get. Right. So now the thing about rates. As I said, guys, do go ahead and ask questions. If there is anything that is confusing to you, that I said too quickly, don't worry, tell me, it's fine. It's not going to be a problem. Or if there is anything that you want to hear today in this session, do pop a note. And, you know, if I have time and if it's something that I know, I will try to address it. Okay, so don't be shy. Right, so moving on, still dealing with clients and agents though. So, as I said, you decide your terms and conditions, you decide your rates as well. All agents wants to keep, the thing is this, so you can negotiate with clients, and you can liaise with your agents as well. I'm going to talk about the agents in a bit. Actually, I'm going to talk about agents now. So there are currently two main areas of clients. Not qualified. So Caroline is asking, hi, Alexander, I'm a native German speaker and did commercial back in Germany, but it was not as codified as it is here. So I am very lost and have no idea how to sell myself and where to start. Great, Caroline, good question. I'll get to that later, about how to start in VoiceOver, etc. But hopefully what I'm going to say in the meantime will actually help with that as well. So there are currently two areas that you work with, that you can find work. So one way is through agencies. So you can get agencies, you have an agent, you have your voice reels, they're online, or they have them with their contacts, and when clients contact your agents, they will select you, and you know, and so that's a way of getting work. The other way of getting work is online with peer-to-peer websites. So there are a number of websites where you can do that, and you can advertise yourself, and you can put yourself with your voice reels, your demos, and your information, and people from wherever in the world they can contact you. Now, on the one hand, that's great, that you know, you skip the middleman, you go directly to the client, and that's great. On the other hand, that means that first of all, you have to be very clear on your terms and conditions, and you have to be very clear on how the whole profession works. So actually, if you want to do this professionally, that's probably going to be very complicated for you. There are many people who sell themselves short on these websites, and that's not good at all. And we're going to talk about that in a second as well. It's not good for them, and it's not good for you, and it's not good for the whole industry. But so you have to differentiate yourself from them. Okay, you don't have to be one of them, and I will explain why in a second. But you can probably guess why. So you've got all that online, and it's so complex, and it's so complicated. All this VoiceOver on the peer-to-peer website can be straightforward. It depends on the client, but it can also be, hey, can you do this, and I'm doing that, and this is for a video, and it doesn't go anywhere, but actually maybe we'll go online, or maybe we'll go on TV in Argentina, and how much, and they ask you, because that's the way it is. You decide your rates. With agencies, it's different. Let me say also about agencies. There are two types of agencies. I hope I'm not losing you here. I know this is complicated. So there are two types of agencies. So we've got agencies, like what is a proper agent, a true agent, I should say. I'm not sure there's a word for this really. So an agency is somebody who finds work for you, finds client for you, and then takes a commission out of your pay, out of your fee. Okay, so that's the agent. That's all they do. They do the contracts, they do all that. So they will have a contract with you, they will have a contract with the client, they will negotiate a price, and that's it. And then that's the fee. They will take a chunk for themselves, and the rest is going to you. Okay, that's an agent. That's what they do. However, out there are a number of other agencies which they tend to do a number of other things as well. So they also tend to work as a middleman between you and clients, but also in other areas, such as, for example, translation, which especially for us, for non-UK born people, is very interesting. And that's not something that's very discussed, which is why this is very important. So normally these agencies, the big difference for you in these agencies is the way they address you and the way they set the fees. The agency, so the type 1 that I said before, they tend to set the fees. They tend to say, this is the BSF, the basic studio fee, the amount you're going to be paid per hour. This is the usage. That's it. They do the work for you. The type 2, which usually do a number of other things as well, they usually tend to work with a plethora of freelance people, which can be translators, which can be interpreters, which can be voiceover artists, voice directors, voice assistants, etc. So what these people do is they ask you your rates. Okay, so they will give you a file or a form that you have to fill in where you say what your rates are. Nobody actually can say to you what your rates are going to be. You're never going to see that, because it would be illegal, because you are freelance, you're self-employed, remember? So you set your terms and conditions and you decide your rates. So it's a very subtle thing that sometimes agents do. That's actually very often. So maybe they might tell you, this is too high, this is too low. And maybe if you're starting out, you're thinking, oh my God, I don't know what to, what rate should I write? I don't know. And that's the thing. It makes sense to start low at the beginning, but not too low. But, it's still going to be something that you decide. It's up to you how much you're going to get paid. And then obviously they can say, okay, that's too much. Our range of clients normally don't pay that much. But that's only if you're going to go too high, really. And I'm going to discuss numbers in a second. Okay, but basically, these are the two kinds of agencies. I mentioned them because they act differently, they behave differently with you, basically. The type 1 tends to be a bit more in charge of things. They tend to work a bit more independently from you, whereas the type 2, they ask more questions. They ask whether it's something that a job that you would do, or that kind of thing. And normally they ask you two types of fees. There's a corporate fee. The corporate jobs and the commercial jobs. Those are the main two. There are others, but these two are the main two types of fees. Normally, the commercial fee is higher. There's more money in advertising. So even the basic studio fee, the BSF, is higher than the corporate fee. Plus there's usage, which is another thing that we're going to discuss later. Okay, so these are the two types of agencies that you can get in the UK. So one big issue that happens within the voiceover industry, and this is very, very important, is the penciling in issue. What does penciling in mean? There's an extra S in there. Sorry, I'm going to get some water. What does this mean? It means that you can be penciled. You know, the agent will get in touch with you, and they will say, "Are you available on next week on Wednesday for an hour at 3 p.m.? Yes, I'm available. Great. Can I pencil you in? Okay. So if you're available, you'll pencil in your diary that date and time, which means you're not booked yet. There's no agreement yet. It's not sure. Okay. But it's a potential job. Now, that job might be released before that date and time, or it might be confirmed and it will become a complete and official booking then. Okay. This is very important because officially, if you're penciled in, you're not in an agreement yet. Nobody has signed a contract, a binding contract. And when I say binding contract of signing, you don't actually need to sign a physical contract or a digital contract. What I do, as soon as somebody contacts me, asking me, my agents or even a new client asking me about VoiceOver, I put in the signature. I've got my automatic signature for VoiceOvers where, I have a line that says, when you are contacting me for VoiceOver work, you confirm you have read and agreed to my terms and conditions. And particularly note this and this clauses, and they are about penciling in and cancellation fee. Okay, this is what I put in my signature. So it's there. They need to click on the link, which is my signature, and they will go to my website where they can see the whole document of my terms and conditions. So even that is enough. That's enough to bind you in the UK. Okay, but until you're penciled in, normally there's no contract yet. You know, I've just asked you if you're available, and then we'll see. You know, then the client might be checking on other talent. They might check again with their boss within the agency whether, and I mean the advertising agency or the final client, whether they are ultimately okay, absolutely 100% okay with you doing the job and not with the other one. So they will normally pencil a few artists, and then they will choose one. So the other one will be released. Okay. Now the thing is, there is already, there's been for a few years, an agreement between Equity and the IPA, which is, as I said before, is the advertising body in the UK. So it's very important. There is already an agreement, and it's in general for performance, but also for voiceovers. Okay, so if you are an Equity member, you can find that in the files of the website of Equity. Already there is this agreement, and between the things, the points of that agreement, we can see the 24 hours rule, the 24-hour cancellation. What happens? So basically, what that document says is, if you are booked for a job, so you're fully booked for a job, and a client cancels when it's less than 24 hours before the job, your fee, your BSF, can be charged, should still be chargeable. Okay, so if your fee is, say, I don't know, £200, so you're booked for an hour for £200, which is fairly standard. Maybe a bit on the high end. It really depends on your experience and etc. But I'll get to that. Yes, I'll get to that, Daggle. I hope I pronounced your name right. Sorry. So if you are, as I said, if they cancel you when it's less than 24 hours to your job, you can charge. Your agent can charge, and yourself can charge the client the BSF. So you can ask for the £200. Now, flexibility is important, as we said. So obviously it depends on the circumstances. So if the client is going to say, if it's actually more than a day or about a day before, and you're free and you haven't lost any other jobs and blah blah blah, and they will say, actually, let's move it to the evening, or let's move it to the day after or 2 days after, and you can tell by the situation that it's going to happen. Because it's more reliable, or maybe it's a client that you worked for before, then it's fine. You don't have to charge them, obviously. But that's more of a rule that protects you, because in case a client is going to mess you around, then you can say, well, actually, now you have to pay me anyway, so even though you cancel. And sometimes people will do it last minute. Now, the specific issue in this case is not just this one, which is fine. This one it's okay. It's in that document. It's something that it's done in the industry. If you work with peer-to-peer website, be aware of this too, because obviously this is very important and people tend not to know that, so that's important too. The thing is, it's with penciling in, because if you are penciled in, then you are not booked yet, and then if you are cancelled last minute or with less than 24 hours before the job, they are not liable to be charged for the job, because they haven't booked you. So this trick is actually something they have been using for the past few years. It wasn't like that 6 years ago when I started, actually, because it is good practice, and this is said in that equity IPA agreement. It's good practice to confirm or release a pencil at least 24 hours before a job, which is really, the minimum amount. It should really be before that. That's kind of like the end line. It's already quite late, because obviously if you have to be free for a job, you have to potentially say no to other jobs. So, you have to arrange your life, of course. And for us, freelance is specifically important. So 24 hours is really the last moment where you should be saying, so yes or no, But unfortunately, it doesn't happen like that. So many clients, and now even the agents, your agents, they will go with them, because that's the thing with the agents. They tend to keep a foot in both camps, right? They want everyone to be happy, especially the clients, because they are paying, right? But the thing is, you are a client too to the agent. This is something that is important. They are not your boss. You are your boss. So in a way, you are a client of the agency. Okay, they are representing you. So you also have to be happy. Okay. So if they keep you penciled, this is what happens. They keep you penciled until last minute. So you've got a job at Wednesday at 3 p.m. They will keep you penciled until the previous day at 6 p.m., which is end of day, or even the same day sometimes. And especially if it's a peer-to-peer website, they might keep you penciled until the very last minute. Okay. If they do that, you're pretty much screwed, right? So if they cancel, what happens is that they cancel last minute, or they say, oh, sorry, we're not ready. So it's 3 p.m. and you're there ready, maybe in your home studio, and they're not there. So what's happening? Sorry, we're not ready. The script is not ready. We need to translate it again. Sorry, the client is not happy with the script. We need to change a line, blah, 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 whatever. Can we do in an hour? Okay, so you have to wait an hour, but you were already there, okay? Can we do tomorrow morning? And it starts being like that. And sometimes the jobs is even eventually cancelled, okay? So they literally can mess around with you. And because you were penciled the whole time, you can't charge them anything, right? So that's where your terms and conditions come in. If you write a terms and conditions, or you use mine, the terms and conditions that they specifically say that it's their responsibility to release or confirm a pencil 24 hours earlier, and if they don't do it, then you can charge them like if it's a complete booking, then they will be careful. So this is the trick. You will see that in my document, if you go to my terms and conditions, so you can go right now if you like, or you can go later. So my website is alexandroananasso.com. And if you click on the actor and VO in the up in the menu, or you could just type alexandroananasso.com/the-actor. Go to my page. At the top, there are two buttons on the right-hand side, the blue buttons. Let's say blue buttons. One is voice reels, the other one is VoiceOver T&C, terms and conditions. So if you click on that, you will see what I'm talking about. Now, there's a rule that says, the point is 215, that says, if a confirmed booking is cancelled within 24 hours of the session, a cancellation fee shall become payable as follows. And this is the difference. Okay, I'm going to read it, it's easier. For recordings at the VO artist's home studio, the cancellation fee shall represent not less than 100% of the artist's BSF for 1 hour. So if they book you for more than 1 hour, but then they cancel, you can still charge them for 1 hour because it's your home studio, so you're at home. For recordings in a location different to the VO artist's own home studio, so they book you in a studio out there in central London or wherever, and you go and then they cancel, then in that case, the cancellation fee shall represent not less than 100% of the BSF for the number of hours booked. Okay? So if they booked you for 3 hours, you shall charge 3 hours. Okay? Because you had to get there and all that. Plus, if there is any sort of agreed expense to be covered by the hirer, sometimes it could be, I don't know, sometimes if they book you for the whole day or stuff like that, then it could be that they agree to cover your travel expenses if the studio is far away, or they agree to pay your food or something like that. So in that case, that still be that you still can charge for that because you've already had those expenses. Those have been agreed. Okay, so this is very important, but this is still to do with a confirmed booking. Now, I've got another rule in the terms and conditions. So the point 222, it's about penciled-in engagement. Now, it says a penciled-in engagement must be confirmed or released at least 24 hours or 1 working day before the job time, whichever is the longest. And now, quickly, what does this mean? It means that, if they book you for Monday 9 a.m., which is pretty much beginning of day, then they have to confirm you by Friday 9 a.m., not by Sunday, not by Saturday, okay? Because Saturday and Sunday are not working days. Obviously, you decide this, but this is, especially if you work with agencies, this is kind of the best way forward. But even if you don't, because, if you work with a client who's in an agency, advertising agency, the chances are that they are still going to work on Monday to Friday. So it's a good idea to do this Monday to Friday. So if you have a job on Monday morning, then they have to be confirmed by Friday morning at latest, okay? Back to the terms and conditions. So they say, this is in the hirer's responsibility. Hence, unless a cancellation or postponement request is sent to the VO artist in time, a pencil shall automatically be considered confirmed as a full booking when it's 24 hours left till the job time, or 1 working day. And this document shall become a binding agreement between the hirer and the VO artist. Ta-da! Okay, so this rule is fundamental for a VO artist. Okay. Now, again, this is to protect you in case of any difficulties or any issues down the line. It doesn't mean that you actually have to charge clients every single time this happens. But it's good to make them aware at the beginning. If they get in contact with you, and even your agents, same thing. You go, okay, you can book me for Wednesday 3 p.m. Just so you know, these are my terms and conditions. So please, can you get them to confirm at the latest 24 hours before the job. Okay, so this is what you have to do, and it's in your right to do that, and nobody can say, oh no, we can't do that. Okay, that would be illegal for them to decide your terms and conditions. They can't do that. Okay, so this is very, very important. As I said, the equity is working on a contract template. It's a work in progress, but it will come in a few months. So when that will come out, that will be great for all of us. But in the meantime, you're very welcome to use this. And as I said before, I encourage you to use it, because the more people use it, the more agents will see it's used, the more clients will see you have your own terms and conditions, you know what you're talking about, you know what your rights are, you know, and it becomes something that is important. Ciao Tessa, nice to see you. I don't see you, but I see you in the conference. Okay, so this is very hugely important that you have this clause in your terms and conditions and you make them aware. Okay, so as I said before, in my emails, as soon as there's a VoiceOver contact, my email says I'm going to write the signature to you. So my signature says, when hiring me or contacting me for work as VO artist, you confirm you have read and agreed to my terms and conditions. Link. Please note in particular clauses 215 and 222 on penciling in and cancellation fee. Okay, so they have to have a look at that. And you can also write it in the body of the email, of course, and you can say, hey, by the way, have a look at my terms and conditions, blah, blah. You know, so they know what the situation is and they will actually have a look. Okay. I hope everything is clear so far. This is all very, 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 very massively important, okay, for voiceover artists. So Dougal is saying, I have an agent already. Am I at liberty to work freelance as a VO artist too? Although I feel this may be a contractual issue. You usually are, especially if you are a non-UK born artist, because many, it depends on the contract that you have with an agency. If they have an exclusivity clause with you, then you can't. But this is usually true only for English native speakers. It's usually for British people. If you're an English native speaker, usually most agencies, not all of them, but many agencies will want to have an exclusive with you. Okay. If you are an international artist or a non-UK born artist in the UK, many agencies will be okay with you not being exclusive with them. Okay, so it really depends on the contract you have with them. You just have to read it and see what it says, or ask them. In my personal opinion, that is good for us, because the reason for that is that there's much less work. There is a lot more work for English-speaking people, and specifically native English-speaking people, than there is for non-UK born people. So it's good for you to have more agencies. Okay. Okay. Whew. Water. Again, anything that's unclear, guys, ask, or if you have questions, do go ahead. Caroline, I'll get to you later on about how do you get started, because I want to discuss this other really important thing for everyone. As I said before, rate cards are illegal in the UK. So you decide your own fees, which means you have to know what the standard is. I'm going to tell you what the standard is. The standard is between, so a BSF, basic studio fee, or sometimes called session fee, but more in America, is £150 to £250. So that's the range per hour. Okay, this is the BSF for any job. It's between this time frame, 150, 250. I would say standard is average is between kind of 180, 185, 200 tops, really. It can be more, but it really depends on the client. It really depends on you know, how much experience you have as a voiceover artist, and how much they can pay, how big their clients are. And this is why knowing the clients is really important. When somebody gets in touch with you to ask you for voiceover work, research them, do find out who they are. Because if they work for a big advertising agency, or they work for a massive client like Apple, and they say, oh, well, I don't have much budget. Okay, that's not great. It could be that they are the middleman and they actually don't have a massive budget, but they still should have enough to pay you a decent money. Otherwise, you know, they shouldn't be working for Apple, right? They will probably get good money at some point. So that's the idea. You have to research the clients. You know who you're working for, and this is your job because you are self-employed. You're the boss of yourself. Okay, so you have to know your clients. It's up to you. So that's your responsibility. Okay, so never sell yourself cheap, which means never, absolutely never. So as I said before, the standard minimum is 150. Which usually is more applied for corporate work, okay, because that's cheaper. Advertising is more 180, 200, 220, or even 250 pounds, okay. Never sell yourself cheap. Never ever do a job for less than 100 pounds, okay. It damages the market. Plus, it's not good for you either, because even if you're thinking, okay, I'm gonna do this for him because it's only a short time, it doesn't take me anything, it doesn't take me much time to do it, I've got a home studio, I can do it, it's easy, and it's easy money for, I don't know, 80 quid. Yeah, no, don't do that, because that client will come back. If that client will come back, and that's absolutely not confirmed, it might just take it and go and run, having underpaid you. But if they do come back, they will expect you to do the same, to do the same job, a similar job, for the same money or even less. And this is 100% what's going to happen. So don't ever think, especially on peer-to-peer website, especially on those websites, because it could be anyone in the world, that you are going to build a career by selling yourself cheap. That doesn't work. So don't do that. You have to charge what you think is fair, based on your experience, based on your skills, on your talent, what you know you can do, but also based on what they can pay, okay? Especially if they are an advertising agency, you want to charge more money for a BSF. If you're starting out with agency, that's fine. If you're absolutely new to VoiceOver, then maybe start low, okay? So maybe you can start with 150, okay? Some people try to work with even less than that. Some people try to work with 140, 135, okay? And I feel that's more of a price that you should apply if you're really like a graduate, okay? So something that's so low. But it start being really, really, really low. So, I mean, if you have a good reason, okay, like you want to start out, that's fine. But otherwise, it should really be 150 up, okay? And maybe after some time, this is what I did at the beginning. I start low and then I increased with time, okay? To basically 200 or 250 even, which is the standard. This is just the standard. Plus, as I said before, with the type 1 agency that I said at the beginning, they decide the fees, and they will usually have good fees. They will usually have decent fees, pardon me, when it comes to BSF. The usage is a whole other issue, it's a whole other problematic, and it's a massive issue, which I'm going to discuss right now, okay? And it becomes especially complicated because, for us non-UK born artists, because unfortunately, agents don't have a clue regarding overseas usage. And this is a massive issue. This is crazy to think about, because that's really their job. That's really all they have to do. So even if you do have an agent, you're thinking, okay, I'm going to get the money that I'm owed. Actually, for us, working for an advert that's going to go in another country, it's not going to go here, the price that you're going to get paid, it's very likely going to be less than what you're owed, sadly. Now that kind of depends on the place where, what's the territory in question. So especially for countries where voiceover and ADR or dubbing are big, so there's a big market there, the rates are higher over there. So that means that, that if myself as an Italian person, I do a voiceover for an advert that goes on TV in Italy, and I do it in Italy, I will probably get much more money. And I'm talking about 5 times, sometimes 10 times more money than what I can get in the UK for doing the same job for the same client for the Italian territory. And this is what the situation is. It's quite dire. And the problem is, because there is no rate card, it's very, very complicated to demonstrate this. Let me explain what the situation is. So there are two ways of charging usage. One is the repeat fees and one is licensing. Repeat fees basically are based on how many times an advert, well, you know, anything you've done with your voice will be repeated, will be shown. So depending on that, they calculate something using something called TDR, which means basically they try to understand how many people, they calculate how many people that advert reaches, which is a complex calculation that you can find online. But that's, to be honest, that's used pretty much only for UK usage. So it doesn't really concern us at the moment. The other way is licensing, and that's pretty much what they use, especially for your overseas usage. Licensing, it means that you sell your license. You say, okay, I license you, I give you grant to use my voice for this amount of time on those channels for this money. This is what we do. That's kind of, it's kind of easier, really. Okay. So there's a website called usefee.tv, which is very useful, and all agents use it, which is great. The problem is it works very well for UK usage, but it doesn't work that well for international usage. It depends on country in that sense. Again, because it depends how much that country works, how big is the market, the industry in that specific country. Okay, so it might be that, you know, in your case, it's not that big in your country, in your home country. So actually, when you work here in the UK, you pretty much earn good money, and that's okay. But in many cases, including Italy, including Spain, including France, especially Spain, actually, because Spain goes, you know, your Spanish voice could go in so many different countries. You know, in many situations, your voice is actually being sold cheap. Because they just do it doing kind of a rough calculation, which is on the usefee.tv website, which is not really the right one. They just go, okay, it goes to Italy. Okay, where does it go in TV? Yes, it goes on TV. How many channels? You don't know. So you ask your agent. I've asked my agents many times these questions, sometimes over the years, and they go, oh, I don't know. You know, they go to Italy, TV, and that's it, you know. Okay, how long? You know, oh yeah, that will be 2 years, and the pay is like £500. That's not enough. You know, in Italy, the local price for an advert going for a year on one TV channel will probably be something around €1,000, and that's one. Okay, so what's happening in the UK? They just go, it goes on TV, you know, for a year. So it could be many channels. Okay. And they're paying you £500. In some cases, they will buy you out. Now, be very careful. Buy out means that they are buying your voice forever. Okay. Sometimes people say buy out, especially on peer-to-peer website, like they mean usage. They're not synonyms. They're not the same thing. Okay. This is what buyout means. Usage means that's my license. I'm giving you my license. You can use my voice, and that's my BSF and my usage fee or use fee. There you go. And you can use it for 3 months, 6 months, 1 year on 1, 2, 3 channels, TV channels or radio channels, etc. That's it, and that's done. When that's finished, they have to stop using your voice or get in contact with you and tell you, we want to extend the campaign. Can we do that for another year? And you get paid again. Okay. Where was I? I've lost my train of thought. It'll come back to me. So pretty much, the thing is, the international usage, the usage on a country will depend on the country. They're doing works in progress in the streets, so do let me know if there's too much noise and you can't hear me, and I will shut the window. So what we did, luckily, last year, I managed, together with some other people, through Equity, to get the PMA, the Personal Manager Association, which manages the usev.tv website, to actually agree to a change of the website. Basically, they are going to say, okay, it's fine, we'll leave it as it is if your voice goes to different countries. So we'll just use a rough calculator, and that's fine. You can use the one on that website. But if your voice is going only to one country, so for example, for me, living in the UK, if I do a voiceover, my voice will pretty much go only to Italy. Okay. In that case, the PMA have agreed that you shouldn't use the calculator on their website, but you should actually use the local rates, not to undercut them. Okay. Now this, unfortunately, they haven't got round to actually change it on the website. They haven't actually added the clause on the website, which they should have done. I'm guessing COVID didn't help with that. I don't know. They're quite slow with these things. It's been a long thing, but this is what they have agreed to. So the idea is you should be aware of what the local rates are in your home country where your voice is gonna go. Even if it's not your home country, because your home country might be here or somewhere else. But anyway, you know what I mean. Where your voice is gonna go, you should know the rates of the average standard industry rates. Okay. For Italy, we're lucky because Italy does have ADAP, which is the dubbers body in Italy. So they do have a rate card, standard rates. So we do know them. There you go. So those are the rates. So this is what you should know for your own country, for the country of reference. The complication at the moment is that agents don't know this. So it's pretty good for the peer-to-peer clients in this case, because if you are aware of all these things, then you can negotiate based on the correct prices. Okay. And again, it's a negotiation. So it's not like, oh my God, if you don't pay me £1,000, that's not good. You know, it can be less, especially if you're just starting out. It's fine, you know. But, you know, just be aware, this is the price you're going to think of. Don't think that if they pay you £500 and you've only worked half an hour, you're like, yay, that's amazing. That's not amazing. If it's an advert that's going for 3 years on TV, that should have been paid, like, I don't know, if it's just one channel, probably 3,000. Okay, literally. So maybe they won't pay you 3,000 today because that's not what they're used to here in the UK. But you can negotiate and explain that. So especially for, as I was saying, for agents, it can be tricky because they're not used to that. Okay, so sometimes you have to explain it to them. But this is how it is. Okay. Plus, Equity will back you up on this if you need, if you need that. Speaking of, I'm going to mention this, which might be of interest, because actually this is part of a battle that we're doing. So I am part of a core group of people who are working with Equity to fight discrimination for non-UK born artists in the UK. So we've managed to create the first ever official network within Equity for non-UK born artists, which is a massive achievement. So this thing is one of the things that VoiceOver we're going to work on, obviously. So I do encourage you to go and subscribe to the network. Equity members and non-Equity members can all join. Okay, so even if you're not an Equity member, you can still join the non-UK born artist network. Look it up online. I wanted to leave you a link, but I can't apparently. So just kind of look it up. Just look up Equity non-UK born artists network, and you should be able to find it. There's also an email which is NUKBA, the acronym for non-UK born artists, at equity.org.uk. And you can subscribe to the network. And there's a meeting happening in 2 weeks on the 1st of October. And you can join. We're doing the first inaugural meeting of that. So feel free to join if you're free. on Zoom. It's going to be on Zoom, and we're going to be many people. I believe there are already more than 200 people. You know, and there are thousands of non-UK born people in the UK, and many of these people do voiceover work. So that's something that we are going to tackle. Okay, so feel free to go. I encourage you to go, because this is something that we will be discussing, a way to put pressure on the you know, the PMA, any association, to help us actually establish the right rates for our work. Okay. But having your own terms and conditions already helps a lot. Remember this, you're in charge of your own terms and conditions, okay? Which means you can decide your own rates, okay? So this might be more tricky for some agents, because some of them are like, no, that's not the price, you know, but okay, that's something you have to work out. But not for all of them, first of all, because as I say, especially type 2, they ask your rate. So you can say, well, this is what you should be charged. You know, I know this is what it is. And then again, you can negotiate with them, but at least they know, you know your beans. And you can send them your terms and conditions. Remember to send your link to the terms and conditions to your agents as well as your clients, so they know. But especially useful for peer-to-peer clients, for peer-to-peer website, it's great, okay? Because knowing this stuff is, they going to you. Normally these people go to you asking your thing, because they don't have an agent. They don't have the middleman. They usually talk about these things with agencies. So in this case, you have no agent because you're online there. They ask you, okay, how much do you charge? How much should that be? Okay, so you can say the right price, you know, and then obviously you can negotiate, okay? Okay, so this is already a big chunk of work that is very, very important. I'm gonna drink some water. All of this really relates to your terms and conditions. If you like, you can even add your rates to your terms and conditions. That's not something I did at the moment, because you can be flexible with but you know, you can decide your own terms and conditions, of course. You can decide your own rates. That's absolutely legal, and that's what you should do, okay? What's illegal is for trade unions to set rate cards for everyone. They can't do that in the UK. Okay, so let me know if anything that I said here is not clear, if you have any questions, because it's all hugely important. Do have a look at the terms and conditions. Let me know if you can access them, okay? If you can't access them, rather, let me know if you can't. But you should be able to, because it's a public link on my website, as I said. alexanderananasso.com. You go on the actor and VO on the menu on the top. And then you will see that on the right-hand side, you have 2 blue buttons, and one is VoiceOver TNC. Click on that. You've got the TNC. You can see it. You can use that link if you like, or you can even download it so you have your file. You can upload it on your website. Do what you like with it, okay? But do use it. Do use it. It's very important that you quote it in your emails. You quote it. You talk about people. You talk to clients and agents quoting your terms and conditions. So they get used to the fact that more and more VO artists are actually using them. One reason why it's not used that much is also because here in the past, it was very much a niche market. And many people who were not even actors, they didn't even have any voice training, would do it, and it would work, and they would earn a lot of money, okay? But nowadays, things have changed. Many actors are here. Many actors do voiceover work. Many people who have had voice training are doing voiceover work. It's becoming, you know, and then the internet, of course. So it becomes more and more of a thing where even, so you've got people who are not specialized with people who are highly skilled. They're mixed, okay? So things are changing. So the more, especially if you want to build a career out of this, or as I said before, even if you just want a decent income doing a decent job, then you need to do it properly. Don't just sell yourself cheap, because that's not going to work. And using terms and conditions is a proof that you are a professional person. You know, you're not just saying, yeah, okay, whatever. Yes, of course, I can do that, okay? Because on one hand, it's good for them to say you're flexible, of course. But on the other hand, when it's too much flexibility, they unconsciously know, oh, I can ask that person anything because they will say yes anyway. Okay. And that's messing around, really. That's not being respectful, and that's not a professional relationship. That's not what you want. Do work with the 24-hour rules. That's very important. Using the 24-hour rule is something that it's already established by the equity IPA agreement, and that's usually what you should really demand of your agent, of your clients. I do need confirmation 24-hour area. If you don't confirm, I will assume it's confirmed, because otherwise what happens is, if you don't say that, what happens is they will ask you, they will say, well, if I haven't got it, I will be in touch, we will be in touch, we'll do our best. But then if they don't, you're left hanging, and then they might cancel last minute anyway, and they haven't confirmed. So you're still in the same catch-22. So then they say, well, if you don't hear from us, we will try to be in touch, but if you don't hear from us, then maybe it's released, Yeah, that's not good, because that means that you have to lose a job, when maybe they will confirm just later on in the day, just closer to the time. But that's not good, because that means that your practice will become waiting until last minute, until hopefully they confirm and they will give me this job, and that's not fair to you, because you might cancel other plans, you might cancel other jobs, you might need to know what sort of time we're looking, because sometimes they pencil you at 9 a.m. and then it becomes 10, and then it becomes 12, and then it becomes 3 o'clock, and then it becomes 6 o'clock. 9 p.m. if you work that late. I don't. But it becomes messy, okay, and that's not fair, okay, and that you shouldn't accept that, because that's not professional on your side. It's not professional to accept that treatment. It doesn't look good. Both consciously and unconsciously, they will see it, and they will know that they can do that with you. Now, there are exceptions, okay. Clients and agents do appreciate flexibility a lot. So there are exceptions. There are situations where they're like, you know what, this client is giving me a headache. It's really complicated. I don't know why they're going back and forth with the script like that. They had agreed to it, and now they're saying, no, please, can we do later? Please, can you do this? Please, can you do that? So there are exceptions that you can make. But make it clear it's an exception. Please, make it clear it's an exception. Okay, so they have to know you're being flexible because you understand the situation, but that's not how you work. That's not your practice. Okay, because they will see that you're making an exception for them. They will appreciate it that way. Otherwise, they will take it for granted. They will say, oh, he can do whatever we say to him or her or them, for non-binary people. Okay, very important. Now, moving on, do ask questions, as I said. Please don't be shy. But I will answer Caroline, finally, who asked a question like an hour ago. So she says, I am a native German speaker and did commercial back in Germany, but it was not as codified as it is here. So I'm very lost and have no idea how to sell myself and where to start. Okay, I'm not sure I understand exactly when you say codified, but I think I know. So basically how to start. Okay, so first thing you want is to have a voice reel. Voice reel is your business card, is the most important thing you can have in the voiceover industry as a VO talent. So that means your voiceover should be the best it can be. Okay, don't just do, oh, okay, I'll record this on my phone and that's going to be my voice reel and I'm going to put it on this website. Okay, but that's not going to get you many jobs, very likely. Even if you have a great voice and you manage to be great, the quality is not going to be great if you don't have a proper mic and a proper studio. You're not going to get big clients. You're going to get small clients. You're going to get clients who are going to try to mess with you, and they're going to, pencil you and cancel last minute and blah, blah. That's the type of client you're going to get with that sort of voice reel, if you're going to get any at all. And that's if you have a good voice in that voice reel. If you've made the right choice, because making the right choice is also important, of what text, what products are you going to use in your voice reels. So first of all, your voice reel must be great, okay? Which means text. What text do you use? Okay, so you have to have a mix of different types of voice service, of different types of work that you want to do, and that your typecast of voice will do. Okay, what they could be interested in you, what they could be interested in doing with you, in asking you to work on. You have to have a think about that, and choose the right brands. Okay, so you can choose a text of a commercial that you think you might potentially do, or something connected. Okay, so a car commercial, you think, okay, my voice could do a car commercial. It could be a fashion, jewelry, food, and then that depends also on where you're from. Because as an Italian person, it might happen very much in the UK. The UK clients, not all the clients in the world, of course, but UK clients might ask you about doing food commercials, because maybe they want you to speak English with an Italian accent and do that, or fashion, So it really depends. It really depends on you. But you have to choose a text, well, more than one text, at least 2 or 3, I would say, but ideally like 6, 7, 8. Shouldn't be longer than 1 minute and 30 seconds, really. You have to prep it at your best. Okay, really should be really good. Tonality, voice range, different types. It's different the way you do a corporate, the way you do a documentary, the way you do a commercial. They're all different ways of doing a voiceover. You should use your voice in a different way if you do that. Prep your diction or your standard accent, which means, for an Italian person, you need to prepare Italian diction, dizione, because your voice is going to go to Italy. If it's going to go to Germany, then make sure your voice is German diction for Germany. So make sure you do that beforehand. Then you need to have a recording and editing studios, and there are a few out there who offer packages. They record and they edit your voice reel and they give it to you until you're happy. So make sure you choose one that you can liaise with, and you can say, I don't like that, can you add more music, can you do that, do this? There are many things you should be aware. Be careful of music, not too much music at all, to be honest, because they want to hear your voice. So you do that, and then you have your voice reel, and then you can sell yourself to agents and websites and wherever you like. One good idea is to have a coach in studio, and that's especially useful for non-UK born artists. So when you record your voice reel, I do recommend taking it some time to prepare it, to prep it beforehand, as I said, but also, if you can, have a coach in studio. Because the thing is that those studios, recording and editing studios, they will usually have somebody who's able to direct you a little bit, but it's very complicated for non-UK born people, as usual, because we have just more challenges, don't we? Because they will most likely be English, and they will be able to direct you in English and say how something sounds in English. But when you do something in your own language, your native language, or even using an accent, with the accent, they can probably help a little bit, but with the native stuff, and you have to record your native stuff, native language, okay, in your voice reel. That's very important. Do have a mix of English and your native language in your voice reel. Actually, there should be more of your native language rather than English. They can help. They can't help because they don't know what you're saying, and they don't know diction. They don't know the standard accent that you should have in your native language. They can't help. So having a coach that knows your native language in studio is a massive help for a voice reel, and that makes a difference, guys. Because yes, you could do it for cheap and do everything as cheap as possible. But the truth is, then the better your voiceover, the better your voice reel is going to be, the better your career as a voiceover artist is going to be. That's just how it is. Okay, there's almost a math rule. If you start with a bad voice reel, you're going to get bad clients, if you're going to get any at all. The better it's going to be, the more it's going to attract big clients who can pay big money, who are interested in working with you, who they're going to treat you more professionally. And same goes for agents as well. You're going to catch the attention of agents when you send your voice reel, and they will hear the difference between a good voice reel and a bad voice reel, or even a very professional, highly skilled and trained voice, and one that is just average. Okay. Okay, so this is very important. However, again, the issue is most of the agents, most of people don't speak the language. Okay, so unless it's one of those agencies, usually are more the type 2, who tend to have a mixture of staff who speak different languages, but still they aren't expert at that language. They just speak it, okay, but they do a completely different job. They're just project managers, etc. Okay, they're not actors, they're not diction expert, they're not directors. Okay. And type 1 agency usually don't have those people, so they can't tell whether your voice is good or not. They can hear your voice and they can hear, okay, this sounds good in Italian or Spanish or Latvian, but I have no clue what they're saying. So you might have a voice reel with a mistake in it, and you didn't realize it because you didn't hire a coach. So you didn't realize you made that mistake because maybe that's how you work, because maybe you didn't have a voice training at all. So maybe you don't realize that you do speak with a bit of a, I don't know, maybe a little bit of a lisp, or maybe something that is, you don't articulate properly, which is massively important for voiceover, voice work. And they don't know, and they decide that, okay, I want to have a Latvian voice in my plethora of clients, so I'll put it here. So my talents include that now, and when clients come and they ask for a Latvian voice, there you go, I have that. That's it, I've got it. And then your voice is going to go to them, and they're going to think, okay, that sounds okay. If they're Latvian, they will go, why are they suggesting this person who can't even speak properly? Okay, as a voice talent. Okay, so this is really bad. You can see this is all really bad. And it's especially bad because it's actually even worse if those agents, those clients don't realize, because eventually your voice, 99.9% of the time, is going to go to that country. It's not going to go here. So eventually your voice is going to go to a place, to a territory, which is packed with people who speak your language, and they're going to hear that there's something wrong with the work you've done. They're going to hear that you don't articulate properly, or maybe they're going to hear that you just speak with a different accent, or the north or the south of the country, which is particularly evident for Spanish or for France or for Italy, but many, many countries, probably all of them, to be honest. You can tell the difference, the areas, okay? And you should learn to speak the neutral standard accent if this is the job you want to do, okay? And it's, as I said, that's the worst case scenario, when nobody realizes. You go to a voice studio, oh yeah, it sounds great. They're all English speaking. They don't realize what you're saying, if you're saying it properly, and then you go and that's done. You're like, okay, great, I've earned lots of money. My voice is going there to that country. And then it goes there. And then the final client goes, what, we paid for this shit? And they will cancel the campaign. They will argue with the client. They will ask their agent to go to another agency of talents, and they will choose somebody else. Okay, which means that they are not going to pay your usage. By the way, your work, your BSF is going to be paid, because the time you took is always paid. But if they don't use your voice, eventually the usage is not going to be paid. Okay, and the usage in advertising, the most part. Okay, because as I said, you should charge 150, 200 pounds per hour. You usually, as a non-UK born artist, work 1 hour, not more, because that's the minimum. And it might be that you're in there for 10 minutes, or half an hour, but that's what you charge. That's what you charge. Okay, so 2-hour bookings are quite rare. And the usage is potentially 500 pounds, 750, 1,000, and it should be more in many cases, as I said. Okay, and they don't pay you that. 3,000 pounds, they don't pay you that if they don't use your voice. So you want your voice really to be the best as possible. You want your skills to be the best as possible. Okay, so if you're getting into voiceover, or even if you are already in voiceover, do train, do get a coach, get an accent coach. Do listen to adverts in your own language, the native language you're going to use for work, and do try to emulate it. Get a coach and see whether you can do that, how much you can play with your range, how much you can go down, go low like this, and speak like this, and say fantastic. I can't say brand names. I want to say brand names to give you examples, but I don't think it's apt to the circumstance. Or whether you can go speak like this, and then you have to find, lively. You can be like bright, or you can be serious, or you can be sexy, or you can be like this, or you can do voices. There's also a brand, hi, I'm Mickey Mouse. Hello. You can be hello, hi Mickey Mouse. I'm Goofy. Hi Mikey. How are you doing? Are you? And you can do all that. Video games and performance capture it's an all other sector that you can do. Performance capture is something else. Sorry, it's connected, but voiceover goes to video games. Okay, so there's that as well. So do prepare your best. This is how you get basically into it. This is how you sell yourself. You have to actually be as ready as possible. This is pretty much the way you do it, okay? So get a coach. You can get a coach even in English, like an English-speaking coach, so they will hear whether you articulate properly when you speak English. That's very important too. But for voiceover, I'm going to say, if you're a non-UK born artist, get a native person of that language as a coach that's going to help you with your accent, to get you a neutral accent, to help you with articulation, with voice range and all that for your own native language, because that's 90% of the work you're going to do in voiceover. And that's, to be honest, that's probably the most important thing in terms of starting out. I hope that answers your question, Caroline. Do let me know if you have questions on this. Okay, so you can have a home studio. Not sure if this is of interest to anyone, but just ask questions if you want, as I said, because we're drawing near to the end of this session in 9 minutes. I'm going to talk a bit about how to build a home studio, very basic home studio. I have one, and it's quite easy to get one. Really, depending on your budget, you can build different types of home studios. The thing is, it's not fundamental, as in usually outside of this pandemic, agents will get you to record in studios. Peer-to-peer clients on peer-to-peer website will ask you. They might arrange themselves. I might make arrangements with voice recording studio, but they might ask you as well. So it's good for you to know places. But ideally, if you have a voiceover home recording studio, then that's the easiest thing, isn't it? So if you've got that, then you can record at home. Now be very careful, because once you have the home studio, that's a double-edged sword, right? Or knife, because then you've got the peer-to-peer clients who are going to go, oh, can you do 10 a.m. or can we do 12 a.m.? Oh, that's okay, because you're at home anyway, right? It's fine. You haven't gone anywhere, right? You haven't lost your time. So be careful with that if you're starting out. It's very good to have it during these times, because obviously we don't go out that much to voiceover recording studios anymore. This is how you do it. You need to have a professional microphone. You have to have the right space for it, first of all. Then obviously your computer. The right space, it could be any space. Ideally should be a small room, like a closet, or a storage room. So a space that you don't use for other things, ideally. Make sure there aren't any reflecting surfaces around. So glass, metal, not good. Aluminium, not good. So any reflecting surface is not good for sound. Okay, so it has to be soundproof. So make sure it's a space where you can step in. Online, sometimes you can find stuff that you can put around the microphone. Now, those are not great in my opinion, because they isolate the sound around the microphone, but behind you there's nothing. So it's not great. It really depends on what clients you're getting, because some of them might be fine with it. But for better clients, remember, this is what you want. You want to get a proper isolation around you, so you can buy some foam tiles. You can get all of that online nowadays, luckily. So you buy them, you buy a spray or something that can glue them onto the wall. So you're surrounded by these foam tiles all around you. That way you're soundproof. Microphone, minimum they can cost is about 120 pounds. 100, 120 is the minimum. And you can go up to 3,000. Okay, so it really depends on your budget. Ideally, with a proper microphone, you should also get a preamp, which is a little thing that basically isolate the noise coming from the mic. It's like an electromagnetic sort of thing that comes inside the microphone, and with the preamp you can regulate that and you can stop it basically. However, there are out there some pretty good USB mics. Now they are not the best options because USB mics automatically will have some noise in it. But to be honest, I have a USB one. I paid it about 125, and it's an Audio-Technica AT2020, and it works great for most jobs. Like most people won't have a problem with that. So there you go. So you can do that. That's fine. That's a good quality. So you have to have that. And if you have a USB mic, you can just plug in inside your computer. You don't need a preamp in that case. The only other thing you need is a pop filter or a pop shield, which is a thing that goes either around the mic or just in front of the mic, which can be made of nylon or it can be made of metal. But it's specifically to shield the mic from your voice going pop when you do this sound, because on the mic it will be, especially in a professional mic, which is very sensitive, it will receive lots of that. And there you go. Once you've got all that, you need a software, the proper software. There are many out there. There are some cheap ones out there. If you have a MacBook, you can use GarageBand, which is great. If you don't, there are many others. There is one that's called Audacity, I believe. Rachel asks, hi Alexander, what mic do you recommend? I'm not an expert on mic, I'm afraid, on microphones. As I said, really look up the prices. So the minimum should be 125. If your mic costs less than that, the chances are that it's not good enough. And then, as I said, it can be a USB mic. It can be ideally one that's a normal mic with a preamp. So it's your choice what you want to use. Depends on your budget. That's all. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. Okay, for my session today.
Yay! What a great session. How wonderful. Thank you so much, Alex. Absolutely brilliant.